we were digging through the archives and we came up with this recording, which will be playing in a few minutes. It was actually when John was interviewed by this guy here called Gavin Esler. You can see just by this photo that he's a person who means business. He is actually very well known, or was very well known, for how rigorously he researched his people and how rigorously he interviewed and interrogated people during his time with journalism. He wasn't just on the BBC Hard Talk programme, he was on a number of other programmes as well. And in 2005, he was heavily criticised for how strongly he had interviewed a couple of politicians with regards to the London bombings that had happened around the same time, and whether there was stuff that could be done to prevent it, and so on and so forth. So he's not a man who shies away from controversy, and he is a very, very good reporter, a very, very good journalist. And for a while, he did a stint on BBC Hard Talk, which is a fairly well-known programme here in the UK on the BBC. It tends to go out sort of late at night, and it takes major events that are happening in the country or around the world, things that are relevant. Obviously, Ukraine war. There was a lot of stuff about the Ukraine war when that first happened. There was a load of stuff about climate change during the COP meeting that they had in Glasgow a couple of years back. That kind of stuff, right? Things that are relevant, and they will get top news presenters and top journalists and sit them down with people who are relevant to what's going on in the news. And basically, some of it is a discussion, some of it is an interrogation, some of it is a let's really break this down and question you about this. And it's still a program which is going on today. Now, John, I'm going to let you talk for a little bit and just want to get a bit of a background as to how did you end up on the BBC doing this program, a bit about how you prepared for it and some of the stuff that you did, and what the experience was kind of like actually going on to this BBC show.
Okay, well, I'm going to get Sam to hold up one of our forerunners to this program. Sam, do you hold up that DVD video called Creation, the Final Proof? This is one that we put together in Australia for a university lecture at Griffith University. Dr. Diane Eager and I worked together on the content, and it really does ask, given that creation is true, what would the evidence be? Thanks, Sam. And you can put up the website where folks can get that. You can now get it as a stream content. You can download it. You can do all sorts of things these days, which didn't even exist. They hadn't been created. You catch the play on words? When we first put that together, we had to create the video itself. And our studio man there, our film photographer, was Dean, and he'll be with me today at the new event at Creation Discovery Centre here in Queensland, Australia, filming not just on our iPhone like that bit that Diane and I did, which showed before with a bit of undersound and a bit of not exactly in focus stuff, but in reality, we'll be filming it and creating a new file. Did you catch the word again? Because we are so used to using that word, many people use it where they actually think evolution means the same thing. No, creation means to make something that could not make itself. So we'd become rather famous around the ridges because of our insistence not just to attack evolution. I mean, come on, let's be honest. David Attenborough's shows are so pathetic in terms of science content. Oh, they're great evidence for creation, to the point where one girl contacted us and said, I became a Christian through watching David Attenborough's shows on evolution because his shows demonstrated so much the beauty and glory of God as creator. You can't run away from it. Even when you are promoting evolution, you are really talking about the evidence for creation. So we'd become notorious, if you like, because we'd appeared on BBC Radio. You know, they have regional radios all across England. We'd been on BBC Radio quite a bit, and we'd got a bit of a reputation. So in the lead up to Darwin's anniversary, we became sort of top of the pile to pick and try to throw at. And so that's sort of the background there. Diane, would you like to add anything more in our preparation for all of this stuff that led up to Gavin Esler's interview?
Yes, it was around the time of the Darwin anniversary. It was a big anniversary for Darwinists. It was the 150th anniversary of Darwin's birth. So it was happy birthday, Charles Darwin, you're 150. And it was also the anniversary of the publication of The Origin of Species, which was published in 1859. So it was a double anniversary. So there was a lot of talk about evolution, about Charles Darwin, and his legacy. So there was quite a bit of interest in it. And we were in the UK for that, giving some presentations and lectures and meetings. So because it was topical in the just general media, the BBC actually took it up rather than ignoring us as being a bit sort of fringy out there.
Now, to go one step further, we had done a lot of debates in England. You may
Yes.
remember a few weeks ago I shared how I am absolutely convinced God called me to England and to preach over there and teach over there. I only regret COVID and a few other health issues with my wife at the moment that sort of holds us back here in Australia. But the Lord opened lots of doors, and many of the professors wanted to debate. And to be honest, praise the Lord for the victories he gave us, because I'll be honest, here in Australia, the tactic taken by Professor Plimer and some of the others was attack, 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 then ignore. Have us on the radio, but cut us off before we got a chance to reply. So in England, however, there's a little bit more gentlemanly, a bit of the scholarly ancestral background, but at least I got to debate professors at Oxford, professors at Cambridge, heads of geology societies, to talk to the Geological Association in St Andrews and in Oxford, etc. It became a real background. So the BBC obviously heard about this, and Joe, they invited us on to, what would you say the rating of this Hard Talk program was?
It is one of the most prestigious interview-based journalism programs. It's more than just the news, because in the news it's very kind of scripted, right? And yes, they may interview some people on the news, but we're going to speak of this, we're going to talk about that, and that's about it, right? And you speak your view, and that's it. Very little interaction. This was basically 30 minutes of just a presenter who's done his research and a person who has been basically not briefed on any kind of content or where they're going, sat down and grilled, basically spoken about it. It's usually experts on the certain topics, or people who have been involved or are promoting a certain topic, and so it's really known as kind of like the height of journalism in terms of getting everybody together in one room and interrogating them. So it's pretty prestigious when it comes to sort of news programs.
Joe, the word you used there was absolutely correct, interrogating. I'll be honest, I had been warned that this bloke, I'd never met him before, took no prisoners. He was out to give you the third degree, the fourth degree, the fifth degree, and any other degree he could to get behind the scenes and expose you with any weaknesses. And since Joe asked me before, what preparation did we do? Number one, I determined to know my subject. Now, my subject was not anti-evolution, right? Catch that. All of you creationists who are listening out there, by all means, know the weaknesses of the theory of evolution, because they are everywhere, right? But for Evan's sake, for Jesus' sake, for the Creator's sake, for creation's sake, for creationism's sake, know what you're talking about in terms of the positive. If the evidence for creation is so clear, and that is the Bible's teaching, sad shame on you theologians who say this is an unimportant issue, when the New Testament says it's so clear everybody will be judged on it, right? Read Romans chapter 1. Everybody from David Attenborough, etc., will be judged on the basis of how they've accepted or rejected God's stand on creation. And so we made it an absolute keystone of our ministry to know what the answer to that question was, whether it be chemistry in the origin of life, whether it be geology and the evidence for creation and the evidence for the flood, or just a little bit of background. It was the evidence for creation that got me first, right? That when I asked, well, if creation is true, what would the evidence be? I wasn't there at the time of creation. The rocks are here now. So they reflect at the very best something that got creatures into the rocks, and the answer would have to be showing up somewhere things were created after their own kind. In other words, whatever starfishes are like now, they've always been, or due to degeneration, they may have died out, all of them or some of them. So that's what I went looking for, and that's what really occurred, and that's what we can actually share on the BBC. Now, the thing that's most exciting about this is you can still get a copy of the background research, Creation of Final Proof. It is still absolutely effective in winning people both to creation, to Creator, and to Christ as Savior. And you'll find it is just as effective in debates against professors. So grab a copy, download it, search for it, etc. Look at all that background research, but you'll be fascinated as you see the effect this has on Gavin Esler. Two more things, I guess, before we play the program. When Joe asked me, how do I prepare? A, I know my stuff. B, I know my enemy. But Gavin didn't represent any position except antagonism. So here was my preparation. Lord, you're smarter than this guy. Give me wisdom in dealing with this guy so that people will actually listen to what I have to say. Give me grace, give me wisdom, and I'll be blunt to you out there. We're not going on the attack to destroy Gavin. We're actually trying to help him to open his eyes to see what the evidence of creation actually is. And watch a little way into the program and notice a remarkable change in this guy's attitude, which really opened the door for us to take it and run with it, which is really great. Oh, and by the way, as Joe said, we have the whole program unedited, and there's some fascinating things at the end, isn't it?